Tonight on your News at 5, new details into the deadly mid-air collision that happened last month in Washington, D.C., what the NTSB is saying may have caused the crash. Then, today is Elizabeth Peratrovich Day. We take a look at the life and legacy of the civil rights leader. And we have the latest standings in the 41st Iron Dog race.
You're watching Alaska's news source.
Thank you for joining us on the News at 5. Our top story, an overnight shooting in Anchorage on Thompson Avenue has left one victim in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. At 2:20 this morning, APD officers responded to the 4600 block of Thompson Avenue in reference to a shooting. Officers located one victim with a gunshot wound to the upper body. The victim was transported to a hospital with that life-threatening injuries. APD says there is no suspect information at this time. Anyone with information, including surveillance footage of the area, is asked to contact dispatch at 311. The incident is currently being investigated. And a fatal fire out of Wasilla left one woman dead, according to the Department of Public Safety. On Saturday at 5:44 p.m., a state trooper was on a routine patrol in the Meadow Lakes area when they were flagged down by a citizen reporting a structure fire in the area. AST attempted to gain entry into the residence on fire, but were unsuccessful because of intense smoke, heat, and debris blocking entrances. West Lakes Fire Department arrived on scene after the responding state trooper requested fire and EMS response. They located Mary Van Waveren of Wasilla inside the residence. Next of kin have been notified. The investigation on how the fire started is still ongoing, although DPS says there are no signs of foul play. And we're learning more about the deadly mid-air collision that happened near Washington, D.C. last month. The National Transportation Safety Board released more information about the data they're looking into now as they try to look into what caused the crash. Stetson Miller was there for the update and tells us more about what we know now.
NTSB officials say they're looking at a lot of information about this crash right now, including the possibility of bad data in the Black Hawk helicopter's cockpit. The on-scene portion of the investigation into the deadly Washington, D.C. mid-air collision has now wrapped up, and the NTSB began laying out some new details on Friday about the crash. One point that the agency's chair, Jennifer Hamady, made was that the Army Black Hawk helicopter that was involved in the crash may not have heard an important transmission from Reagan National Airport's Air Traffic Control Tower, or ATC. Just before it collided with an American Airlines regional jet, a CRJ-700, the tower told the helicopter's pilots to fly behind it.
The instructions from ATC were to pass behind the CRJ. That transmission was interrupted. It was stepped on. We do not have evidence on the CVR of the Black Hawk that they may have not received pass behind the.
The agency is also looking into possible discrepancies between what the Black Hawk pilots saw on their instruments in the cockpit and the aircraft's actual altitude.
We are seeing conflicting information in the data, which is why we aren't releasing altitude for the Black Hawk's entire route.
Officials also noted that the helicopter's 3 crew members were on a training mission when the crash happened and said they were all wearing night vision goggles. They also stressed again that it is still too early to determine a probable cause of the crash. In Washington, I'm Stetson Miller.
And now let's take a look at our first weather with Christina Campbell.
And Adelmi, we do have a winter weather advisory and a winter storm watch in effect for the west coast of Alaska, from the Bering Strait coast on downward to the Yukon Delta coast and inward to Nulato Hills. Heavy snow could be expected. This is Monday through Wednesday and Tuesday through Wednesday. But for now, we have a light wintry mix of precipitation for the south central area, mainly along the North Gulf Coast and the Prince William Sound area and the windward sides of the mountain ranges, not really on the leeward side, as you may see just a sprinkle or two of maybe some light drizzle or light snowflakes on the south side of town for Anchorage and maybe on the hillside. Otherwise, very light precipitation. Temperatures very mild in the 30s for the most part across the south central region. Cordova at 41, in the interior into the single digits, a little below averages. About the teens is where Fairbanks should be this time of year. So it's a little on the nippy side. And of course, statewide, cold to the north and very mild to the south with wind chills, bitter cold, double digits below zero on the north slope. And as we look ahead, more active weather for the coastline, the southern coastline, but very pleasant weather for the north, except for western Alaska. A quick look at some cities across the state. Fairbanks looking at a high of 20, Juneau looking at a high of 39. And of course, I'll be back with your full forecast in just a bit.
Thank you, Christina. We'll check back in with you in just a little bit. Now, February 16th is a day of recognition for civil rights activist Elizabeth Peratrovich, a woman who worked diligently to fight discrimination against Alaska Natives in their native land. Peratrovich wrote state representatives to demand the removal of whites-only signs on Alaska establishments and united with other Indigenous women in the Alaska Native Sisterhood organization. Her work led to the passage of the Anti-Discrimination Act of 1945, decades before the signing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Her work for equality has been recognized nationally, and her likeness was minted on 5 million $1 coins in 2020. Sunday, Senators Lisa Murkowski and Dan Sullivan recognized Elizabeth Peratrovich Day in a statement praising her tireless work to stop discrimination against Alaska Natives. Paulette Moreno, Executive Committee woman of the Alaska Native Sisterhood, was in Sitka to celebrate and says the work didn't stop in 1945.
It is very important that we as a people, especially the first people of the land, continue to lead the way and make sure that everyone that is here in Alaska is treated with fair and equal citizenship. Our worth is not defined by others. Our worth is defined from something much higher and much more powerful. And that source knows what equal and fair citizenship really is.
In Anchorage, to honor Peratrov's legacy, the Native Community Center in Spenard will screen For the Rights of All, Ending Jim Crow in Alaska, and invite the community to shop at a market following the celebration.
Thanks for listening. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcast from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's News Source app.